We're going to kick things off with NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray, who joins us here on set. Will be with us over the course of the next hour. Mark, good to have you with us. So still a number of key races have not been called. A few actually have been called, maybe surprisingly early, earlier than we expected. So far, what's the key takeaway?
I think another election, another surprise. I've been doing this for quite a while. And you look back at 2016, even the 2020 presidential election, and you kind of see where the winds are blowing that last week or two before the election. And then come election night, you see the returns and you get a really big surprise. And I don't think many people were thinking that the House of Representatives would still be uncalled right now. Republicans only needed to flip 5 seats, a total of 5 seats to win back. This is the lowest threshold that you would needed since 1932. So it wasn't a high bar to clear, and they still haven't cleared it yet. And you ended up hearing from the sound from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, we expect to do it. That's probably correct, but if they do end up winning the House, might be by only a few House seats, but we still have a lot of counting still to do. Then, the battle for the Senate is still undecided as well, too. But Democrats might find themselves in a position over the next 24 to 48 hours to kind of find out, will they end up controlling the House of Representatives, or I'm sorry, the Senate, and then also about that runoff that we would end up seeing potentially in Georgia.
Which is where the Senate could be decided ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately, and maybe not till next month. All right, Mark, let's talk now about Pennsylvania, of course. It was your hottest take for us yesterday. When I woke up about 3:40 this morning, it was called. I was surprised to see that. We talked about the potential for that to go on for quite some time. Talk about how crucial that is for Democrats in terms of potentially keeping control of the Senate. And I'd love to know if you were surprised by how early it was called.
I was surprised. And the reason why it's so big is that Democrats, that's the first Senate pickup of the evening. And now all of a sudden, with the remaining contests, it forces Republicans to have to win in Arizona or in Nevada, or to be able to do, the pressure's on them to go and win. And had Mehmet Oz been able to win, or we didn't know the status of that for a while, you would actually think that Republicans are probably the smart money to win the United States Senate. But now I think it's a completely jump ball, and the race that I'm going to be really following over the next 24 hours is Nevada. Right now, you end up having a situation where Catherine Cortez Masto is trailing by a couple percentage points, but the remaining vote is a lot of mail-in ballots in places like Washoe County, Clark County, the 2 biggest counties in Nevada. And so we're going to have to count those votes to see where they are. But it would not surprise me that Democrats could, once we find out all that ballots, because we could know if they still retain control of the U.S. Senate.
And we should warn Nevada could take 10 days.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we should warn people Nevada is a little slow when it comes to counting some of these remaining ballots.
I was surprised by how quickly we saw Pennsylvania and the ballots, the guidance that we'd all discussed. It's going to take a few days. And we called Pennsylvania last night.
Bottom line, Republicans were hoping for a red wave. Clearly, this is not a red wave. I mean, Lindsey Graham said so much. Are we understanding why? Is it either exit polling is telling us why that didn't happen, or the results in specific places? Why are Democrats outperforming expectations?
Joe, our last NBC News poll gave us a really big clue on why last night was a bit of a surprise, and that was that Democrats caught up to Republicans in enthusiasm. And normally one of the big reasons why the party that's in power ends up losing big in a midterm cycle is that the opposition is just more fired up. And our poll showed that Democrats were dead even in enthusiasm. And I think we ended up seeing that in the results last night. And I think it is still important to note, Republicans still can end up winning control of the U.S. House. They can end up winning control of the United States Senate either in the days or weeks following. But I think you're exactly right. The totality of this election right now, and we still have lots of races to count, is that this looks a whole lot more like a red ripple than a red wave.
All right, so if you're just waking up with us this morning, Pennsylvania, obviously big news overnight. Nevada, like we just said, could take up to 10 days. It's just going to take as long as it's going to take to count all those votes. Georgia, potentially, most likely, headed to a runoff not until next month. So what are you looking out for today? In the next few hours this morning while we're on the air, what are you looking for?
Again, I'm going back to Nevada. And Joe is exactly right. It could be a while to count all those mail-in ballots. Remember, Nevada is now a big mail state. And so I think that, but how the count goes in places like Clark County, which is the Las Vegas area, as well as Washoe, which is Reno, and the remaining vote there, to me, is the entire ballgame before we even get to, hey, what would be a runoff in Georgia? And that's why because I think it is much more likely we're going to know the outcome of Nevada either the next 24 hours or the next few days than we would know the outcome of Georgia, which might not be until December.
The bottom line is Democrats have already flipped one seat, so Republicans have to flip at least one more, and basically two at this point.
Correct.
So,
correct. The pressure's on them right now.
All right. Mark Murray, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.